Good morning. I'm Daniel Binkard and welcome to the Math and Science building at Chadron State College. There's a lot of things changing, moving around as they get ready for the addition and renovation of the building that's going to take place over the next, about 18 months. So let's go see if we can find Stacie Mittleider and see what she can tell us. Stacie, are you in here?
I am.
Hey there, how you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Good. Can you show us around a little bit?
Sure.
So Stacie, we're in the kind of the main core of the building with the Foucault pendulum. What is this core going to become?
The center part of the building will become the Planetarium.
Okay.
It will be ADA compliant. As far as I understand, about 1.5 floors from floor to ceiling. The main floor that people normally come into the building will be kind of a seating area.
Will that kind of include the same study space? I always see students around the tables here getting ready for class and that kind of thing.
Yes, there will be study space there. I don't think it will be necessarily as big square footage wise, but there's plenty of space around the building that will be good study space for the students.
So this move has been going on for, is it 3 months now? When did you guys start?
Well, because of COVID-19, without students in the building, we were able to take care of a lot of the moving process, taking down bulletin boards, whiteboards. A lot of the classroom spaces were dismantled early, which is unfortunate and fortunate in the same respect. So,
well, it's good to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
So about how far are you guys from having the place emptied out?
I would say we're probably a good 2 to 3 weeks from being completely out of here.
Okay. Moving right along. I've been through a few times and it's just amazing how much stuff has been stuffed into this building.
Oh my
so
gosh.
we're going to see a little bit of that as we go through, I hope.
Yes.
Even with 2 weeks to go, it's probably still pretty full.
I think that is very correct. I keep joking that we have increased our square footage just by getting rid of a lot of stuff that hasn't been used for years.
So here we are in the Gross Anatomy Lab, looking quite a bit emptier than it has ever been the times that I've been in here. Where is Gross Anatomy going to go in the interim?
In the interim, the Gross Anatomy Lab will be placed in the Burkheiser building.
Okay.
There is a space that used to be used for the animal science people.
They did their own necropsies there.
Correct.
That's good to have that available.
Yes.
I seem to remember there was a light switch up here.
Yes, there's a button up above.
There we are.
There you go.
Now this is pure retro planetarium.
Isn't it awesome?
I was in here taking some photos earlier in the spring and just looking at all of the mechanics to this thing.
Pretty intense.
Yeah. Joyce Hardy told me that this is going to change quite a bit.
With the planetarium being moved to the center of the building, it will be ADA compliant, as I mentioned. That will be a huge change.
So Stacie, I see we've got a lot of empty display cases. Where have all of these pieces gone for the interim?
These pieces have been boxed up to be stored in Brooks Hall. We are in the space that will be used by botany and zoology, and then down the hall will be geoscience and physics.
All right. So is there going to be any classroom space in this building?
There are a couple of small spaces that were double dorm rooms that can be used for study rooms. They can be used for SI sessions.
Perfect.
And they can also be used for small classes.
All right. But other than that, lab spaces and office spaces?
Lab spaces and office spaces are over here, yes.
All right.
A lot of storage as well.
Oh, I imagine so. And then we'll have faculty in some other office spaces elsewhere on campus, correct?
Correct. There are a few over here at Brooks Hall. There are math and some of the other science folks will be over at Burkheiser.
Okay. All right. Well, let's head back to Math and Science building and finish up our tour.
All right.
Well, let's take a look at one of the big lecture hall areas here.
These lecture halls will be, I don't know if taken away is the right word. This space will be changed. We will be losing one of the lecture halls.
Okay.
Of course, they'll be in a different space, but we'll have one lecture hall instead of two, but it'll be a little more user-friendly as far as seating and group work goes.
Says college having a large space
does.
like this, and yeah, it's nice knowing there will be something comparable in the end. And of course, we've gotten all the whiteboards and blackboards removed.
Yep, and that was done pretty early in the process.
Let's see, we've still got a few display cases full of bones and fossils.
Yes.
Very nice.
Those will be moved by professional movers.
Okay. So Stacy, what is the plan for student technology in the new space?
I am unaware of any specific computer labs, but I know that there will be spaces, in the study spaces for the students, there should be charging stations.
Yeah, you can't have too many charging stations these days, that's for sure.
Correct.
And this looks quite a bit different than it did before, that's for sure.
Yes, this has been cleared out. And again, a lot of this is being stored in Brooks Hall as well as Sandoz Center.
Kind of in broad strokes, what's the plan for the museum?
The museum, as far as I'm aware, will have a bigger square footage and maybe the possibility to change out the displays and the exhibits more often.
I wish I could say with that, I'm not sure, ends with an M. So these are kind of the tradition, the modern tradition of math and science is having these crossword puzzles, right? How long,
Yes.
when did this start?
Oh, probably about 2 years ago. Crystal started hanging them up as kind of a
You gotta have something for the
team
students
building.
to do. Team building's
building.
good, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of times you'll find students and faculty gathered around the crossword puzzles, working them out together. It's been a lot of fun.
Good bit of collaboration.
Yes.
Let's see, 64 across. What was this lab used for?
This was the geoscience lecture room and lab, and it was full of rocks. So many rocks, and now it's just echoing.
Has Mike gotten all of his rocks out yet, or is he still hauling loads of them?
I think we're pretty much out. There may be about 10% left, if that. For the most part, I think they're all out and in storage.
He's made a lot of progress on that, that's for sure.
He wins the award.
Well, let's take a look in the herbarium. Expansive,
Yes,
full of
it
filing
is.
cabinets.
Yes.
Where does everything go while the building's being worked on?
During the renovation, the herbarium is being stored in both Burkheiser and Brooks, and all of the books, or a majority of the books, have been boxed up and taken over to the library for cataloging.
Okay.
There's around 200 boxes of books so far, and there's still some to come.
And then in the new space, where does all this end up?
The new herbarium will be in the basement.
Okay. Mathematics classroom here, and a lot of activity.
Yes, this is where the herbarium is being packed up. Everything's being brought in here to be more easily packed.
Well, looks like it's been a busy process.
It has. Already 200 boxes or more have been taken over to the library.
Wow. So math space doesn't require the kind of specialized equipment a lot of the science classes need.
Correct.
So what's that going to look like in the new building?
There are spaces in the building that will be designated as classrooms, generic classrooms. The math department will have their smart boards and projectors.
And then meanwhile, while the building's being worked on, where do the math classrooms go?
The math classrooms will mostly be held in Burkheiser.
Okay.
That's where the offices are, and most of the math classes will be there as well.
That should work out pretty well then.
Yes.
So one of my favorite classrooms to photograph is the Botany Lab, and it looks really different than
It does
did.
look different, yes. A lot has been moved out of here, and that's all been taken over to Brooks Hall, which is where they'll have their labs
Okay.
next year, in the next couple of years.
Coming into the physiology lab, where do the various labs end up while they're working on the place?
Well, anatomy and physiology, chemistry, and microbiology, for example, will all be in Burkheiser.
Okay.
The zoology labs, botany labs, and geoscience will be in Brooks Hall.
Okay. Quite a bit of space here to change around. What do the chemistry labs look like in the interim?
During the renovation, the chemistry labs will be in Burkheiser. They are renovating a space over there, walls and ventilation and hoods and whatever they need over there. And that space will be shared with microbiology and some of the research space.
All right. Well, you got to have that safety gear for the students, absolutely.
For sure.
I did want to take a quick look here in the broken beaker. We've got the smell of popcorn in the air.
Yes.
So, Stacy, in all your years here in math and science, what are some of the traditions that the students have come up with?
One of the biggest traditions we have is the popcorn, as you mentioned. Because the Health Professions Club used to run the concession stand for all of the home football games, they have had these popcorn makers. So after the football season was done, we got the popcorn makers back, and we would just have popcorn almost every day.
It certainly smells good. And you got different flavors, as I understand.
We do. We have the traditional popcorn made with the Flavacol, and then Dr. Keith has come up with caramel and chocolate. Delicious. Yes, and we recently discovered the mixture is better than either of them separate. So
nice. So I see we got some puzzles here too. The students, I understand, spend a lot of time in here, especially during finals week.
One of the other traditions was the Finals Food Fest, where we would all bring in different things. Tim Keith would bring in nachos, his famous nacho bar, and he had chips, cheese, sour cream, jalapenos, you name it, everything that you would want on your nachos.
Delicious.
It was a great tradition, and we were sad to miss it this year.
In talking to Joyce Hardy earlier, I understand there's not a specific space for a student break room, but they plan to figure something out for that. They don't want to lose that.
We'll definitely come up with some space. This was a lab in a classroom at one point, and we just transformed it.
Okay. Well, before we finish up, let's take a look at one more lab space and see what's in there.
All right.
So, Stacy, how long have you worked here in math and science?
I've worked here for 13 years.
What's it been like for you seeing this whole process come together from a dream in all the faculty's minds to almost a reality?
It's been quite fascinating, that's for sure. I know they talked about it several years ago when I first started working here. It was always in the plan to renovate the building, and now that we're actually at that point, it's kind of bittersweet. I feel like there's a lot to be said about the design from 50 plus years ago. Coming up to speed with technology and use of space will be really good.
I imagine it's going to look quite a bit different than what it currently does.
It will. It'll be like coming to a new place, I think.
Well, Stacy, I want to thank you so much for talking to us and giving us this glimpse at this in-progress math and science building. It's certainly going to see a lot more changes, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure. Yes. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate the time, and I hope that this is something that lives on to tell the tale of what we went through this year.
One more piece of history.
Yes.